Get excited. I know. You gotta put power on hiatus for 20 minutes and you get back to it.
You know, you can actually make an alert call and motion the receiver down to block the backside edge of that end sometimes. You ever do that?
It was. Power?
Zone, and then down the backside edge.
We'll do it with an H.
Like a wham?
Yeah, but we'll bring the.
Oh, you did the split zone?
Yeah, it's a split zone.
Yeah. That's perfect backside.
So, little wide receiver stuff here. First thing that I'm going to do every single day as a receiver coach is start with stance. And Coach Clark, Andy, talked about some of the reasons for that. And that's talking about our get off and our first 3 steps in our drive, and all of our stance is going to help us do that. So if we're relaxed, right? Relaxed, we're going to be fast. We don't want to be all tensed up. And all this stuff kind of goes to, you know, if you were doing track and field and you were a sprinter and those types of things. And he just talked about, you know, you see guys trying to be loose, so we want to be loose. We don't want to be tight. We want to be relaxed. We want to be able to quickly have a stance that allows us to react and go from rested to a full speed, fast twitch movement. We want to be able to take off quick. And the big thing for me is that you always hear me say if you're a receiver is first 3 steps. So we don't want to be tense. Right? So in our stance, our weight is on our front foot, on the ball of our front foot. Our back foot, our heels should probably be off of the ground. We don't want to take a false step. So if I have a heavy back leg and to take off, I have to shift my weight forward and then take off. It's a wasted movement. And we kind of talked about that a little bit with the quarterback throwing motion. Sebastian and I just did a little bit ago. So we're trying to eliminate any false step or wasted movement. So we're getting out of our stance as quickly as possible. Highly detailed in our technique, and I should have put that with the route running, but everywhere, your stance, your routes, and everything. You need to pay attention to subtleties and where weight is on your feet, and then my chin is over my knee, over my toe, and those types of things. Maximizing speed, so correct stance, that's what I was just talking about, no false step. My first 3 steps have to be key. And so we worked on this during our practices. You guys were with receivers, and Andy came over and he talked about that knee drive in those first 3 steps. I, as a receiver coach, want the first 3 steps to be lengthened and long because I want to attack the corner. I want to close down the cushion the corner has as quickly as possible. The sooner I can get your cushion closed down, the quicker as a corner I can get you to open your hips. And if you're going this way and I'm going that way, I'm going to win. Okay? So I want to create a change of direction. And I've talked about that a lot this week too. When I change direction, that's when I create separation, and Johan, that's when the ball needs to be there, right? Okay, so we've talked about that a lot. So with our stance, if we have a good stance, we have our weight forward, probably 80% of our weight's on our front foot. On the ball of our front foot, and again, my knee is over my toe, and hopefully my chin is there also. I shouldn't be way too far, but again, weight's forward, and I'm ready to take off with that first step. The first 3 are key. I wouldn't say all of our routes, because every once in a while there's something that's going to break a rule. Like Coach Clark says, we have rules, but then we break them. Same for receivers. So 90% of our routes, your first 3 steps, you're attacking that corner. So that's why that's so important. And then we'll, as we do screens and different things like that, we can change that. Inside the framework, staggered a little bit, and I kind of went through that quickly already. Consistent feet, back heel off the ground, and we're going to load the front foot. That's something that I was looking through a presentation that Coach Colbert did the other day, and I just really liked the way he had put that. We're loading the front foot. That's the way it's going to go. And just so how do you think about focusing that? And I just like the way he had put that. He said load the front foot. So we're going to take off, and we're really going to drive and push off of that front foot. Forward lean. And I said this already. Your chest and knee are over your toes. weights forward, and I'm not knowing whatever I put things in, so I've covered some of this already. But again, about 80% of your weight should be on that front foot. Your knees are bent, right? So again, all of this is about being athletic and being able to take off forward in a straight line. If I'm going too fast, or if you guys have questions about things, stop me and ask. Elbows are tucked in the body. We don't want to be wide, right? Again, we're trying to eliminate wasted movement. If I'm one of these guys that looks like I'm a plane about to take off, then something has to change before I can go to run. So I should be relaxed, elbows in. Hands are up, and consistency is key. And the reason that is, we want to do things the same way so our repetitions are efficient and we always look the same. Once we're not consistent, we start to tip things off by where we're pointed or other things like that. We create tendencies to give away what we're doing. So consistency is important. Eyes, receivers. You need to know kind of what's going on with the defense. And the older you get in football, the more you need to be aware of coverage as well, along with the quarterback. So I want to know where that corner is because I'm going to attack him. If it's a play where I have to block, right? Again, as you get older, sometimes we incorporate what we call a push crack technique. So we'll push to the corner, and if we get a down safety, we're going to crack. So we call that a push crack. And so again, you got to identify the defense and know where those guys are. Once we're ready to snap the ball, and this is something that my receivers struggle with, and again, it's probably a bad coaching on my part. After we're set and we know where the defense is, your eyes need to be on the ball. We don't go on the cadence, we go on the movement of the football. Okay? We don't go on sound. Watch the ball. You guys, I've noticed clap. So we're going to do that this year. We've never done it. I'm hoping it's going to make my receivers watch the football.
Doesn't.
Doesn't? Okay, great, good. Well, I have that to look forward to.
I mean, the way to do it is just kind of to run the hard count. So you have the quarterback clap, and then you have someone snap it, and then they go, and they kind of learn it.
Right.
But they have a tendency to go on clap.
Well, that's a bummer. I was hoping that we were going to start going on the ball. We'll continue to struggle with that. We'll get it fixed maybe. And then after the cadence is going, then peripheral vision is kind of what we're counting on there to identify any movement that's taking place. Okay, so we're running a route.
Hey, Coach, I need to ask a question.
Sure.
At the beginning, you mentioned that you shake it every day. I know
Every day.
how Coach Hart does it with all the steps and kind of the stance that he does with his O-line. Do you go about it the same way? Have everybody line up, kind of go first step and then reset, or how do you go about checking the stance?
Good question. So we'll line up and we'll get on our stance. So I'm going to check and make sure in a good stance first, and then our stance and start. It's stance, and then our start drill is 3 steps.
Okay.
Right, and so we're working on trying to see if we can get to 5 yards, see if we can get to 6 in our first 3, seeing how far we can get coming out of our stance. And I think the first day, or I mean, how many times did we do it, Roy? We probably did it. That was the first day. So we might cut it back. Yeah, like we're doing takeoffs again, but they're important. That's why we're doing them. We're doing them for a reason. So I don't know. We probably did like 6 of them. Down, back, down, back, down, back.
We did more.
Right. So again, I'm trying to watch the stance so I can eliminate false steps. So that's why we're doing that. Okay. Okay, so in that takeoff, our eyes need to locate the corner. We'll talk about that a little bit more, about how we want to attack the corner more specifically. But his alignment is going to dictate how we take off, okay? Because we want to protect the throw, so we have to attack the corner in a certain way to give us leverage over the corner. Firing out low and hard, consistent with our steps. We've said a lot of that. False steps, we're trying to get rid of those. Throws off timing, yes, and timing's been a big area of a big talking point this week. And then we're going to try to eat up the cushion of the corner. Leverage, okay. So let's talk about this for a little bit. We'll take a little bit more time here. as a receiver, I have some responsibility in protecting the football. All right. If I get a hard inside leverage corner and I'm trying to run a slant route, if I push straight ahead, 1, 2, 3, and me as the corner, and I go to break into my slant, I've put the quarterback in a really difficult position already because I'm not protecting the throw. So how do I protect the throw? I protect the throw by stemming my route and getting square, shoulder to shoulder with the corner. Okay? So when I do that, I'm gonna actually stem with my first 3 steps. I'm still gaining ground and trying to close down the cushion and the space between us. But I'm just gonna point and I'm gonna boom run and I'm gonna try and get square and then square up and then break my route off on my 3rd step or however many steps I'm taking. But the reason for stemming to get the defender squared up is so that now, if we're square, now when I break, I haven't given up my leverage to the inside. Now, if the corner's getting coached up really well, they'll backpedal and they're going to maintain their leverage. But that's why we're trying to defeat that by taking off and having a good stem. Once I get there and I've broken it down, I'm big on my guys about a good head and shoulder fake, right? And so, anybody in here play basketball? No? Nobody? This is easier in the U.S. because everybody plays basketball or has at some point. So my head and shoulder fake, again, is just to try to get the corner to open or start to turn their hips the other way so that they have to create this change of direction. Because I was on the quarterbacks a lot about, hey, they're open when they change directions. The ball has to be on time. So we want that receiver with their head and shoulder fake. When I get to the top of my break, boom, and then I'm coming out of my route the other way. And it's all about trying to create some doubt and as I've closed down the cushion now, right? And so which way do I want that corner to open up? I want him to open up the opposite way I'm going. So if we can get the hips opened the opposite way, then we're in good shape. And we've created some separation so we can get the ball there on time. So if it's an inward breaking route, right, I'm giving a head and shoulder fake to the outside and coming in, and vice versa. If it's an outward breaking route, then I'm going to attack that inside shoulder, head and shoulder fake, and I'm breaking my out breaking route. Okay. When we talked about stemming, the other thing that I want to do and be consistent with, even if I am running an out breaking route, I still want to stem to get square with my corner. Why would I push in and get square if I'm going out? Well, the same thing. I can't give you a head and shoulder fake and get your hips to open up this way on my out breaking route if I don't ever get square and get shoulder to shoulder with you. Okay? So, if this is the football and I'm running an out route, I still want to push up my corner, get square, boom, now that I'm here, now I can give my head and shoulder fake and break out. But I can't get his hips to open up that way from out here. This is not going to happen, right? I can push here, give a head and shoulder fake. If he opens up that way, he's not very good at corner, and we can forget all the technique stuff and running routes. But that's not going to happen. Anybody have questions about how to stem and why we're doing that?
I mean, just continuing on what you're saying, I think it would be interesting to hear your tips and tricks for it. Because I think we do try to stem defenders. It's just kind of, sometimes it might be really difficult if you're good at kind of identifying the right route, of course, but how you guys go about it and teaching the kids and getting to do proper stemming on the defender.
For me and for us, it's just it's a rep, right? So after we do stance and starts, then you can do starts and you can stem to one another. You can get a partner and we can stem. And just like we do our punt blocking, it's progression, right? We step right, we step left. So we'll take off with an inside leverage and we'll stem to an inside breaking route, and then we'll go and we'll stem to an outside breaking route. And then after you've done that, then you can do your cone drills to get in and out of cuts and things like that. But it's just creating a situation where I have to stem to that receiver and break. You can make it hard then after you've done that. You can try to have your whoever's acting like the corner try to backpedal by keeping leverage. And I do that with when I coach DBs, sometimes I'll work on that, and I need to do it more, but backpedal and maintaining my leverage. Because a lot of what the coverage is trying to do, the leverage is important, and if I give that up, then I'm gonna lose. So just working on attacking that and getting square shoulder to shoulder. Okay? Gonna eliminate that cushion as quickly as possible. It requires the defender to make a decision. If I'm a DB, I never ever want to give up my cushion. I'd like to stay in my back pedal as long as I can, because if I can always keep you in front of me and I can be controlled and in my back pedal, then boom, I can change direction and I can drive much quicker than I can if I've opened, and now I have to change and come back forward. Yeah.
With the wide receiver trying to push in the cushion.
Exactly, right? Because
Yeah.
I want this back pedal, I want you to have to get out of your back pedal.
Yeah, we just want to force them to do
Yes.
how they get out or get it.
Absolutely. Because again, Oreo, if you're running the route to me and you've run a hitch, I can come back and defend the hitch from here, boom, a lot quicker than I can. Are we laughing because I'm calling Oreo still? He put it on his helmet. It's his fault. Than I can if I'm opened up to here, and now I have to come back up to defend a hitch. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get him to open his hips, and we do that by closing down and removing that cushion. So from the DB's perspective, I want to keep it. Our perspective, right? The DB coach is going to yell at his corner about not giving up his cushion, and I'm going to yell at you about not taking his cushion away. We're both trying to do
Basically yelling at
competing
the
things.
same thing.
What?
You're yelling about the same thing, but at the opposite side.
Correct, right? And that makes sense because we're competing against one another. So we want to force them into an unfavorable position. Again, the head and shoulder fake helps with that. Once I can get that cushion closed down, if I can get you opening the wrong way, now I'm even better off. And we do that by manipulating the defender's hips, and hopefully that head and shoulder fake is accomplishing that. We already talked about this. Okay. Stacking. So after we've stemmed, we have a vertical route, right? Where we're pushing up the field. I'm basically, when I say I'm going to stack, it's kind of just what it sounds like. Come here, Oreo. I'm going to call on you every time now, so I can call you that.
That's fine.
Okay. Once I've closed down his cushion, he flipped. He opened up a little bit too late, right? And I'm running this vertical route. Move this way so they can actually see us. I want to stack, or we call it stack and replace. I'm going to stack to get back on top so that I get him behind me. All right. So anything vertical down the field, a post, a fade. Now I've closed him off to the football. Okay. I've protected the throw. Same thing we were doing when we were cutting, right? But now this is vertically. We're trying to protect the throw, protect the football. If I was going, in and out, slant, out, or whatever else, I'm protecting my leverage by getting square, and then boom, I'm closing him off to the football. Okay. Same thing with what we're doing when we're stacking. We're good. Thanks. Okay. So I'm getting on top of the corner. I'm stacking myself on top of the corner. I would want to do the same thing if I had somebody pressing me, right? So if I was running any route, if you're going to come press me, once I get by you, I want to get on top. I want to stack, right? Get on top, stack, all the same thing. Same. I'm saying the same thing in a different way. Okay. The DBs are taught to get in your hip, right? Or in phase. They're in your hip. If I can get on top of them now, they're not in phase. They can't. It's much more difficult now to make a play on the ball. Coach Colbert talked about the other day playing hands. If I've stacked and I'm on top, that DB does not have a good way to get to my hands. He's going to have to pass interfere to get to my arms and get to my hands, and he can't do that if I've stacked and gotten on top of him correctly. So trying to create separation in my route. There's some really good stuff here, and we do I have my guys do a little bit of stuff with fighting pressure with pressure. All three of these, and so we'll talk about this. So as I'm running, if my defender has gotten on my hip, the term I always use is fight pressure with pressure. So, Oreo, come on, buddy.
You should just call him Cookie.
He didn't put Cookie on his tape.
Yeah, I know.
Okay? Coach Colbert, if he's a defensive back, right? He's hot plating my hand, right? Do you teach your guys to lean on him at all, or to
The DB?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so he's trying to make contact with
Pressure
me.
with pressure.
That's right. We're teaching the same thing again, right? But for opposite reasons. He wants to get me off my line, and I want to hold my line, right? So what I would tell my DBs, if it's a fade, keep on riding me and riding me and riding me and riding me out of bounds, so there's no more room to complete the fade. So for the receiver, it's just the opposite. Okay? He's leaning, and I'm going to fight him back, and I'm going to hold my line. I'm not going to let him push me off of it. There's two reasons for that. One, I can't get pushed out of bounds because now I'm out of space. And second, this is going to help me create separation. Okay? So what I do, we do a little drill where we'll get a partner, and we'll run in a straight line. Okay? And we'll just jog, and I tell this guy, hey, you're the defense, lean on it. Right? Try to push me off my line. And so we're going to run, and then when I get to a certain spot, and I'm going to break at a cone, I'm going to push with this foot, I guess. I'm going to push in, and then I'm not using any of my arms. Okay? Do you feel me push into you? Right. So I'm pushing off with my legs. Okay? And so we'll do this drill. We'll jog, right? And I'll have them just stay on the line first, and then we'll come back, we'll come to a cone, and when I get to a cone, I have to step in, boom, to push off. And so you can just see us right here, right? We're not going full speed, but when I use my leverage to push into him, I'm creating separation in my route. Okay? Okay? You can when we come out of that, the flipper technique here that we're talking about is just using your arm. What I would never ever want to see, you can't get your arms out. You can't get your arm extended. All of your push off has to be done with your legs. Okay? And this is hard for some guys to do, but if you can get it and you can practice it, it's really, really helpful because you're not going to get called for offensive pass interference when we create separation if my arm doesn't shove away. We can use our elbow. Okay? So this is the flipper technique. So when I get here and I go to push off, I can, you know what I mean? I can get my elbow too, where I can flip that guy and I can step in. Again, you got to be careful that your arm doesn't extend. Okay? Because we don't want to get called for offensive pass interference. Push through technique. All right? So we were messing around today. We were in curl. All right? Okay? So this is a push by or a push through technique. So as I'm running a route, he's in phase again. So he's doing a good job now as a DB. Up to this point, my route's not created separation. So I'm getting to the top of my route, and it could be a dig, it could be a curl, it could be a comeback, anything where he's kind of in phase. Okay? So if it was a curl, when I get to the top of my route, I'm dropping my butt, we should be running. He's not going to be able to get stopped as soon as me. I know where I'm going, and he doesn't. So as soon as my butt drops, go ahead, Oreo, boom, I am just going to kind of help him on through. Okay?
I teach that when you're out of phase. It's the DB. I do that
If
as
it were
a
a,
DB.
if it were a dig, okay, or I had to get back inside, it's the same thing. Here we go, we're going, right? I'm going to drop my hips, boom, and just kind of help him by. And that's all it is, yeah.
When the DB is out of phase, that's what he does against the wide receiver. If the DB is behind you
Yeah.
and you try to stop down and cut, he's
If
pushing.
he's behind me and I'm running a dig or something like
Yeah.
that, I better not chop down like this
Yeah.
run my dig. I better,
But if he does,
better do a speed
push his
turn.
hip.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
So, okay. So those are two things that I'm trying to work on in my routes as we get better at them, to kind of help our receiver create separation within our routes. Okay. With the push through, you don't want to get real extended. Same thing with the flipper, right? anytime an official sees your arm extend, you're going to be in a bad spot. You're asking for a flag. So it does have to be subtle, and I'm keeping it down here kind of in my running motion, right? So as I'm running, I can get to that point. I just don't want to extend my arm and get it away from my body. Okay? Catching the football. Catching is something that you're not going to get better at unless you do it. And there's things that we'll teach and we'll tell you how to do it. But then you have to take that and you have to kind of put it into practice and you have to rep it and you have to do it and you have to catch a lot of balls. That's why somebody mentioned, you said you guys have watched Hard Knocks, right? Sometimes on Hard Knocks when they show them going out to practice, you'll see receivers on a jugs machine or just shooting balls to them. Because even though they're in the NFL and even though they're professionals, you have to catch footballs. The way to get better at catching a football is to do it. Now, doing it right is going to make you better faster, but the way to get better is to do it quick, to catch a lot of footballs. Okay, soft hands. So, we always tell our kids that we're going to build a diamond, okay? And if the ball is anywhere that we can't build this diamond, then we're just turning our hands over and we're putting our pinkies together, okay? After we get it caught, and we talked about this too, receivers this week, after the ball is caught and they were standing still, they were just in place, they were just catching balls. So they were building this diamond, right hand on top, left on top. Well, again, we're building that diamond, and then your pinkies together if it's low. But what I always want to see from my guys, the catch isn't complete until the ball is tucked away and secured. So I'm getting it caught, and I should see my chin drop now because my eyes are going to follow the ball all the way to the tuck. Okay? So every time you catch a football, I should see your chin go almost down to your chest because I'm following the ball wherever I got it from into the tuck. And the reason for that is as soon as we get into a game, here's the ball, and I'm looking upfield. And it's just a good habit that we're trying to create so that we're always watching the ball all the way into the tuck. Okay? So that's one thing, if you came out to a practice, you'd hear me yell at receivers about probably more than anything else. Watch the ball into the tuck. Okay? So, building the diamond, watch it all the way to the tuck. Hands need to be soft. You got to have soft hands. You can't have hands of stone. When the ball gets there, you can't have stone hands. You got to kind of cradle that ball. You got to have soft hands. Give a little bit, and you go from there. Okay? Ball security. Part of ball security is getting the ball tucked away. That's part of the catch. And then if it's tucked away correctly, then we can protect the football. All right, blocking. This is something that coming here, we really want to put some emphasis on and make sure that we were getting it covered and making sure we talked about it. When we work on blocking with receivers, I don't know what you're thinking ahead of time, but we don't have to kill anybody. We don't have to knock anybody out. We don't have to be like Coach Clark's linemen where we're rolling you and getting pancakes. None of that is necessary. If you can do it, that's phenomenal. But we don't need to. Okay? We need to almost be good at just staying in the way. We need to be pests, like flies or gnats. People can't get us out of their face because we don't go away, right? We keep our feet moving. So when we start fitting up, and I'll kind of take you through my progression of how I teach blocking for my receivers, we're going to start with the feet. So we're going to get in a good position where our feet are shoulder width apart. We're going to bend at the knees and drop our butt. Okay? And again, part of this is we can now get in an athletic stance where the DB is not going to let me block him, right? So I got to be able to move laterally. I got to be athletic. And also, Coach Clark would agree with me here, a low man's going to win. I don't ever want to be higher than the guy I'm trying to block. So, again, my feet are about shoulder width. I'm bending at the knees so that I have leverage that I can play with. If I was in a weight room and I was doing a hang clean or a power clean, I'm almost in that position. Because from there, in a hang clean or a power clean, it's the same thing. It's an explosive movement with my hips, and I can roll them and I can punch. And then I'm still balanced where I can move my feet. So, need to be able to move laterally. We're never ever going to cross over with our feet. We're going to keep our feet wide and apart, and then we're going to shuffle, and we're going to mirror the defender wherever he goes. Right, Oreo? We talk about that a lot this week too. So wherever that guy goes now, once I'm fit up, we're going to stick with him. Yeah.
Coach, I don't want to interrupt you, but
No, go
just
ahead.
to emphasize how important blocking is, you know, I got a chance to go to the OTAs for the Tennessee Titans. You know what the very first drill the receivers did after warm-ups?
Good
They
luck.
sprint 8 yards, they come to balance, and they do mirror drill with their hands behind their back. They're not catching balls. Their very first drill was mirror drill after coming to balance. Pretty impressive.
Our eyes are on the, right? So what we do is when we first start and we punch, we're going to punch right at the breastplate. Our thumbs are up so we can get a good punch, and then we're going to be able to control that guy's pads. So that's where my eyes are going to be fixed. My hands, and we tried to stress this a little bit, we want a good punch. We want to engage the guy. We kind of want to startle him or knock him back, so now that we're in control and we got our hands positioned where we want them. Okay? Inside of the breastplate. I encourage my receivers to grab the thing. We grab it. We punch and we grab it and we hold it. And I keep my elbows tight. Right? And then as we go through this progression, and I'll show you this, if our arms get away from us, you got to let go. But initially, when I'm getting my hands fit, just so you know where your hands should go, you can be holding on to that breastplate with the thumbs up.
Coach, just gonna add on to, I just told Coach Clark about that we kind of, sometimes we have kids, even though we coach thumbs up, they might go elbows out. So we kind of go to just elbows in, and that's gonna solve the thumbs up problem as well. So just kind of go tight on the elbows, because that helps in the punch and everything.
Right.
That might, cause you know, the kids go thumbs up, and then even they might even go elbows out still. So
Sure.
just getting the elbows tight.
Okay. Part of our drill, part of the progression is we're gonna be good with our feet. Okay. So our feet, we've talked about having them wide, but when we break down, we have to come to balance. And I call it foot fire. I don't know what you guys call it, but when I come, I'm going to give myself a cushion of about 3 yards, and I'm breaking down, I'm chopping my feet, and I'm getting into that good technique position that we'll start a progression of drills with. Trying to be athletic, we don't want to over pursue. We don't want to be off balance. I say I come to balance, and I don't ever want to be lunging or out over past my toes. I have to have my butt underneath me so that I'm athletic. And our feet are going to keep moving. And that's when I say foot fire. I'm coming to balance here, and now I'm going to punch, and then my feet will always move. My feet should never ever come to a stop. If they do, I'm going to end up on the ground, and the DB is going to end up behind me. Don't let your arms extend. So we talked about that too. After we punch and fit, my elbows are going to be in and tight to me. And if I have to pull the guy to me, I'm going to pull the guy to me, and then I'm going to lock my arms, and I'm going to keep them tight. If the DB rips away from me and my arms have to extend, I have to let go. Okay? But we don't want our arms extended. Right? We're not going to drive block. We're not going to extend our arms and drive and push anybody around. Okay? We're staying in front, moving our feet. A 2-yard gain is going to be better than a 10-yard penalty. So, like I said, if the arms get away, we're teaching our guys to let go. And eventually, at some point, the DB is going to turn and pull, and we are going to have to let go. And then we're going to reset our hands and keep our feet moving and keep pursuing the guy and trying to stay in front. Once the defender declares the direction he's going to go, okay? So once I've come to balance, I fit up, and now he picks the direction, that's fine. We talked about this too. Now I'm just going to keep trying to move my feet, and I'm just going to run them. It almost turns into like a block on kickoff return. Now I'm on his shoulder, on his hip, and I'm just going to run. I'm just not going to stop. I'm going to stay on him and redirect his path so that his path to the ball carrier now is altered and he can't get to where he wants to go. If I can, okay, I'm working my butt and my hat to the play side, right, where the ball's going to go. If it's an inside run, I want to get my helmet and my butt to the inside. If it's an outside run, that's where my helmet and my butt are going to go. All right, so as I fit up, if I can, I'm working my butt around this way if it's a run this way, and I'm walling him off. If he beat me, I'd turn and I'd run him now, and I'd try to run him all the way to the sideline. If I got here and I'm getting turned and he takes off this way, now I'm gonna run him. But I am gonna try to stay engaged and keep my feet moving and take him where he wants to go if I can't get turned where I need to get turned to. Okay, so here's how we kind of go through the blocking progression. Oreo, let's go. We'll go through it. You know it, right? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get about a step away. I'm going to get about arm's length away from him. Okay, I'm going to make sure we're in a good stance. Bend at the knees. We're going to have a low butt. Okay, and the first part of this drill is a step and a punch. Okay, so I'm here and I'm going to step, punch, bring my other foot, and be right here balanced. Okay, so I'm trying to end with my feet parallel, ready to shuffle and move and stay square and stay in front. Okay, so it's step, punch, and then bring the other foot. Okay, and that's all we're doing. How many times do we do that?
A lot of times.
We do that a lot of times too. So we're just fitting hands, and we're staying down, and we're staying athletic. Now the first time he went, remember what mistake you made?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Yeah, but we put them just
You lunged, right? Okay, so Oreo, he got out here. He stepped, and he got his head way out in front of his toes. And as soon as this DB moves now, move one way or the other, that's where he's going to end up. And we haven't blocked anybody, okay? So I want to come to balance. Step, boom, and my butt's underneath me, okay? So that was kind of the first phase of how we set this up. Don't go anywhere, okay? Just hang in here with me now. All right? So that's the first part. Okay? After we've gone through all three phases, I'll come back to this and I'll put another piece there. The second phase now is we're going to back up. We're going to get about 10 yards apart. And I'm going to do exactly what Coach Clark said. We're going to come. We're going to take off. I'm going to sprint at him. I'm going to drop my butt. I'm going to come to balance. And the first time we do this, again, the feet never stop. I'm just flip fire until I get to here, and now what part of the drill is it? It's the phase one, right? Boom. And that's all it is. So that's our second phase. So now I'm really building on my drills kind of like Coach Clark was. First step, okay? First two steps. So we're going to put it all together. So again, I'm sprinting about 3 yards. I'm breaking down. My feet are moving. Boom. And I'm fitting up. And that's it. Okay? We're practicing being balanced. We don't want to lunge and get our chin out over our toes. Okay? We want to be balanced. Okay, so for phase two, 10 yards apart, on command, I'm going to have him run at the fender. I just say, set, go. He's going to break down, chop the feet 2 to 3 yards, and then we're repeating the phase one. Step, punch. Okay? The third part, now is really what Coach Clark said. 10 yards apart. I'm going to give him a command. I'm going to say, set, go. He's going to attack. He's going to break down. Okay? Now when he's broken down, this is the mirror step that Coach Clark talked about. So I'm standing behind, and I'm just going to point. And the DB is going to step whichever way I point to. Okay? So I've broken down, Oreo step, I mirror, and then step, punch. Finish the drill. Okay? So the third phase now is what we did in the second with a mirror step. Hopefully I mirror the right way. Okay? Everybody follow me? Okay. So that's kind of how I'm building on the breakdown, mirror, fit, and all that. So after we've done that, now we want to compete a little bit. So what we do is, come here Oreo, so we just go back to our phase one. Okay? And I have them go ahead and lock up. So get where you would be. And I get here and we let them get their hands set and we hold the crap out of them. Okay? And then we just, I tell that DB to fight like hell. Get his hands off. And I don't care how you do it. You can club them, you can rip, you can move left and right, but I want to see you stay engaged and just move your feet. So he's fighting me, right? And so we fight that whole time, and I'm trying to stay in front and move my feet and stay low. Okay? One thing that you did really, really well, he started fighting and you were going with who? Carl?
Yeah.
Okay? He got his hands extended away. Do we have to let go?
Yep.
You've got to let go. So he did a really good job on his own, and I hadn't even told him to do it yet. As he got away, he kept his feet moving, and he just reset his hands. So even if my arms get extended from me, I'm not done blocking, okay? So if I'm fighting, my arms get away, I reset, my feet never stop moving. All right? My feet never stopped. I stayed with them the whole time, and I'm just resetting my hands. Boom, reset my hands. Reset my hands. And we'll do that as many times as we have to. But the feet don't stop, and we stay square, and we stay in front of that guy. Okay? So those are kind of the 3 phases we do. And then we'll put that at the end, just to make them really work and compete and fight and work up a good sweat. Okay? We did this drill today also, okay? The other thing we'll do is we'll do a perimeter blocking drill. So we'll line up in a trips formation, and at the school I'm at, we run a screen to each spot out of trips. We'll run a screen to the number 1, the number 2, and the number 3. So we put 3 defenders out there, or 2, you can do it with either, it doesn't matter. But we got to get the 2 most dangerous defenders blocked, okay? So now we're going to put some assignment with our technique. All right, because all 3 of these screens, they should know where to go. So I will stand behind the defense. I'll give them a number. Okay, so we're going to throw the screen to number 1. So number 1's running a screen path. 2 has to get flat and get out to 1. 3 has to get flat out to number 2. Okay, and we did this one today also. You guys saw this today. Okay, if I signal 2, 2's for us. The screen path is straight up, straight back behind the line. 1's got 1. 3's coming flat and trying to dig out number 2. And we're all trying to get all this stuff outside and wide. Okay? And then finally number 3, that's our bubble, what we call it. And 2's got 2, and 1's got 1 still. Okay? In this instance here, corner and down safety are the 2 most dangerous, unless something would happen late, and that's why those are the 2 we're blocking. Okay? These 2 could be switched, right? Now on a bubble, he's more dangerous down here than he would be at depth. So 2 would come to there, and then 1's got first thing to show. Okay? And we can go pretty quick, and we can work our technique for blocking, we can work our assignment.
And it's also a great block shedding drill.
It's good for everybody, yeah. It's good for everybody. So that is, those are kind of things that I think are important, and that's some, as far as blocking goes, some drills that I really like and we'll do a lot of. Those are the blocking drills that I do first before I do anything else. So, anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Your screens, how do you call 1, 2, or 3? How do you call them?
In a
Are they
game?
like a slip, a smoke, and like a bubble? Is that?
Yeah. 3 is a bubble. And a lot of what we're doing there is trying to throw whoever's kind of uncovered.
Sure.
And we'll have teams that'll kind of give us funny looks, and you'd be surprised how many times that middle guy's uncovered. And then we feel like we can just, it's kind of the exception to running the hitch. We want to get it out a little bit quicker and get people blocked and go. So we just have a name for each one. The number 1 is other high schools. So like one's Rochester, the other way is their mascot. Okay, so Mad South would be left and Eagles would be right. Okay, so that's kind of how we do some of our screens. So here my steps are 3 forward and back behind the line of scrimmage. Again, the key for number 2 now is to make sure that I'm getting flat on my steps. The first time we did this today with the guys, we took off where he was and he came back up to play that and we missed the block. So my footwork has to be flat by both to come dig out the guy that you got to dig out. And we want to try to get everything out to the perimeter. Okay, so boom, flat, work up, and try to get to those guys. The middle screen's the exact same as the outside. We're straight up, straight back.
3 steps, is it quick 3?
Quick 3, yeah. 1 big, 2 little. So it's 1 and you're chopping your feet to gather yourself. And then I'm just getting back behind the line of scrimmage. Quarterbacks, you gotta cut the ball loose. don't wait till you see them. Okay? So big, 1, 2, and then getting back behind the line. And go. Okay? And then the third one's just the old school bubble.
And sometimes this works another terminology I try to use for stuff. You talk about gotta get flat.
Uh-huh.
When we run screens with the lineman, the tackle's gotta run flat out there. The term I've always used that helps them is run the sidewalk. Pretend there's a sidewalk straight across the field, and it helps them kinda have a landmark to think I've gotta run down the sidewalk before I go to the receiver.
Right, yeah.
Some we use with that.
It's good.
Very similar technique though.
Yeah. So those are the screens we're repping. We do some other screen stuff out there, but those are the ones we're practicing when we do this drill. It's just a catch and get the ball to the uncovered guy.
Two's uncovered.
Yeah.
You're gonna stalk the corner in the most dangerous.
Yeah. So let's say that, you know, we get
Gosh,
something like that.
yeah. So
So
the free, you'll block the sand.
most dangerous. So he's pinning this guy, and this guy's going to be slow off the ball. Okay. And see what comes first, because again, we're going to try to get outside of the edge. Okay. So if he's getting in depth, and this guy's pursuing, then I'm gonna. He's not taking off like a bat out of hell. He's taking off slow. So he's just coming off kind of even almost like a stutter. So I'm coming off and kind of just trying to figure out where I'm going to go, and whatever shows is what I'm going to take. This is another pitch to get the ball out.
You do all this out of the gun, right?
Our best screen is probably, we are going to get the line involved, but we run a slant with a bubble. So if the pass play looks like this, and it's a backup bubble, like that, so we run a screen off of that where we're going to get our tackle out flat, like you said, he's going to run the sidewalk, and he's backing up, 1, 2, 3, and then coming back flat. Now we're like a jailbreak. That's our best screen.
It drops everybody else, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because it looks exactly like one of our pass plays. So that sprint draw I showed you, Coach, and then a middle screen, and then that one's probably our other
You're gonna have to send me that.
best one.
Do you ever run gun triple stuff with the inside guy being your pitch guy with the throw?
Yeah, we'll do off inside zone, and then throw ball
Oh,
off
that's
of it.
it.
And then one year we trained fade by the outside guy, so as soon as he pulled it, the corner would squat.
Okay.
So, yeah. That's all I got.
Very good.